The targeting range smelled faintly of ozone and cold metal. A sterile arena suspended over open vacuum, its transparent floor revealing the swirling storms of the gas giant below. 1,000 meters beneath her boots, Istrion's cobalt clouds churned like a living sea. Cadet Rhea Morgan forced her breathing to remain steady. Her pulse wasn't fast, but it was focused, sharp, like a drawn bowstring. The observation stands surrounding the circular arena were filled with alien cadets, scaled Zeveri tacticians, towering six-armed Kexari strategists, and the crystalline Solarians whose bodies glowed like refracted starlight. They murmured among themselves as she stepped into the center. "Human next," someone hissed. "Watch her panic when the drones accelerate." "She won't last 3 seconds." Rhea ignored them. She had learned a long time ago that silence cut deeper than arguments. Above her, the hollow voice of the training system echoed, "Cadet Rhea Morgan. Preliminary evaluation, kinetic reflex precision test. Stand by." Metal shutters opened around the arena, revealing the dormant drones, spheres the size of apples, lacquered black, matte against the floodlights, 16 in total. They were faster than bullets. Rhea rolled her shoulders once, loosening the tension that threatened to creep into her spine. A cold voice drifted in from the evaluator's platform. Commander Vesk Thalkor did not walk so much as glide, his tall reptilian form nearly silent on the polished metal floor. His scales were obsidian and patterned like sharpened armor. He towered over every being present, and even his shadow carried pressure. Vesk's vertical pupils tracked Rhea like a scientist studying an insect. "You demonstrate determination?" "Cadet Morgan," he said, tone smooth and blade thin. "But determination is not a substitute for capability." Rhea didn't look up. "Capability is what the test measures." "Not your opinion." A ripple of murmurs swept through the stands. Zeveri cadets stiffened, offended by her tone. Vesk's jaw flexed once, a silent sign of irritation. He enjoyed control. He expected submission. He would get neither from her. Rhea lifted the Academy Standard kinetic pistol from the rack. The weapon was weight-balanced polymer with an internal rail accelerator. No recoil, no kick, no vibration. Aliens loved perfect engineering. Humans, Rhea, thrived on the unpredictable. She stood ready. Vesk pressed a control on the console. The arena lights dimmed to razor focus. A single red dot glowed on the floor beneath her boots. "Begin!" The drones ignited. They didn't fly. They exploded into motion. Black spheres streaked around her like shrapnel. She pivoted, fired, one target down. Another zipped past her shoulder. A flash of instinct. She twisted, hip dropped, fired again. 2 down, speed built, faster and faster. Her mind didn't analyze trajectories. Her body simply reacted. The weapon became an extension of her pulse. The alien crowd leaned forward, excitement tinged with disbelief. "She's tracking the micro-oscillations." "That's impossible without predictive calculation." "No, she's not predicting. She's improvising." By the 10th drone, Rhea could feel Vesk's eyes narrowing. The final sphere shot toward her from behind, silent and nearly invisible in the dim light. Rhea pivoted without thinking, blind to the target, guided by a flicker of displacement at the edge of her vision. The drone died mid-flight. 16 targets. All destroyed. The arena lights brightened. Rhea lowered her weapon, breathing steady. Vesk didn't speak. The silence that followed was not admiration. It was resentment. Finally, the terminal displayed her score. Hit accuracy, 97% reaction speed, 0.09. SEC current record holder. Rhea Morgan, an eruption of voices filled the chamber. That can't be right. She beat the Kexari reaction standard. No human has ever... Vesk raised one hand. The arena fell silent. Then he spoke. Impressive. But irrelevant. Rhea felt her jaw tighten. "I hit every target." "You reacted," Vesk replied. "But you did not think." "Combat requires more than instinct." He keyed in a new sequence. A holographic chart materialized above the arena, species combat classification metrics. Every species ranked, plasma dwellers at the top, humans at the bottom. Humans lack tactical superiority, Vesk continued calmly. This was only a preliminary exercise, Rhea held his gaze. You mean it wasn't the real test? There. A flicker of surprise in his reptilian eyes. Brief, but there. He wanted her to feel small. He wanted humanity to remain a footnote. You rely on adrenaline and emotion, Vesk said. That is not strategy. Cadets must internalize precision, not hope for instinct. I didn't hope, Rhea said. I executed. Vesk leaned forward, voice low. You reacted before the targeting algorithm finalized. That is not tactical control. That is recklessness. Her fingers twitched against the weapon, but she forced them still. Behind Vesk, other instructors watched. Some curious, some hostile. Every alien cadet understood one thing. If the humans failed these evaluations, Earth's combat program would be shut down. They would be demoted to logistics and diplomacy only. Humanity's combat seat in the Polaris Council had one shot. Rhea's performance. He's not measuring me. He's trying to bury us. After the evaluation, Rhea walked the corridor toward the human barracks. The hall was dim, illuminated by blue tracking lights that pulsed with every footstep. Her muscles ached, not from exertion, but from restraint. Footsteps hurried behind her. Rhea! Wait up! Cadet Jonah Park, friend, fellow human trainee. Wide grin, wild curls, energy like a barely contained explosion. He slowed beside her, fist bump already half raised. That was insane, Jonah said. You saw their faces? The Zavari kid nearly fainted. Rhea didn't smile. Vesk isn't impressed, Jonah blinked. You shot down every drone. Exactly, she said flatly. He needed me to fail. Now he's angry. Jonah shifted uneasily. Maybe we shouldn't push him. Jonah. She stopped walking, turned to face him. If we hold back, we lose our combat track. We get reassigned to logistics. Jonah's jaw clenched. He knew what that meant. They would become observers, not protectors. Witnesses instead of defenders. That man wants humans erased from military doctrine. Rhea said quietly, I'm not letting him do it. Jonah swallowed and nodded. When Rhea returned to the dorm, she expected silence. Instead, she found every human cadet staring at a holo bulletin. A notification pulsed. Compulsory announcement, new evaluation added tomorrow, 0900. Vesk, kinetic reflex test, custom variant. The variant's difficulty rating flashed. Risk level, maximum pass rate among aliens. 2%, someone whispered. He built a test no one can pass. No one spoke after that. Rhea stepped closer and tapped the file. The specifications expanded. Target count. Unknown trajectory pattern, randomized mid-flight reaction window, 0.03 seconds. Autonomous learning. AI adjusts difficulty with every reaction. This wasn't just about skill. It was designed to crush hope. Jonah exhaled sharply. He wants a public failure. No, Rhea corrected. He wants a public humiliation. Someone behind her said what everyone feared. If we fail tomorrow, the council votes to remove humans from combat training entirely. Rhea lifted her chin. He thinks instinct isn't strategy. Jonah frowned. What are you going to do? Her answer was simple. Prove him wrong. As she walked to her bunk, Vesk's voice echoed in her mind. Humans rely on emotion, not calculation. She lay down, staring at the ceiling's faint glow, and whispered into the quiet, You measure reflexes. You never thought to measure will. She closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she wouldn't just pass the test. She would end the debate about humanity's place in combat. With one impossible shot. The combat simulation lab was silent at 0400 hours, far before scheduled cadet activity. The air smelled faintly metallic from the oxygen scrubbers cycling at low power. Only one person stood inside the glass-encased chamber, Rhea. She stared at the new test specifications hovering in a pale blue hologram before her. The parameters changed line by line as she scrolled. Reaction window, 0.03 seconds. Ballistic drones. Adaptive maneuvering based on target's reflex. Path pattern. Evolving unpredictably through learning AI. Pass condition. 94% accuracy or above the moment her nerve pathways adjusted, the system would modify itself. It wasn't testing precision. It was hunting hesitation. Vesk designed this to prove that instinct, human instinct, was inferior to algorithm. Jonah entered quietly and stopped beside her, speechless at the complexity. Rhea, this isn't a test. It's a trap. Yeah, Rhea murmured, but a trap can still be beaten. Jonah shook his head. Not by reaction time. The fastest alien hit rate on an easier version of this was 50%. That's why I won't rely on reaction time. He frowned. Then what will you use? Rhea switched off the hologram. If you can't match the machine, you do what machines fear. Jonah blinked. Fear? Uncertainty, she said. Instinct is chaos to a system built on prediction. Training protocol stated that the test range couldn't be accessed before evaluation. So Rhea improvised. She stepped onto the auxiliary reflex pad, an unoccupied chamber meant for basic aim calibration. White panels slid down around her, isolating her in a cube of pure light. She strapped on the blindfold she'd taken from a sensory deprivation locker. What are you doing? Jonah whispered. You can't see. That's the point. The drone's activated. A hum filled the air, followed by a sharp flash of movement. Rhea felt the disturbance of air on her cheek and fired without hesitation. One drone shattered, another swooped behind her, silent like a needle through fabric. Her muscles tensed, not from anxiety but recognition. Her ears picked up the faintest displacement in space. She fired again, 2 down. No thinking, no timing. Only instinct, the unconscious bridge between perception and action. Jonah stared, stunned. Most cadets need predictive overlays and tracking grids. You're shooting blind! Rhea reloaded the pistol fluidly. If I rely on visuals, I'll lose. If I rely on numbers, I'm already dead. Jonah's face hardened. He wants us to fail. No, Rhea corrected. He wants to show the galaxy that humans are inferior. Hours passed in silence, broken only by drone impacts. Her shoulders ached. Her throat felt raw. But her body shifted smoother with each attempt. Less thought, more instinct. She turned the test into a rhythm. Breath, motion, trigger. She didn't train for perfection. She trained for flow. At 0600, when the first cadets began to file in, the door slid open. Commander Vesk stood in the entrance. Unauthorized facility usage, he said. Voice low and sharp. Rhea removed the blindfold and met his gaze. I'm preparing. You are wasting energy. You cannot defeat machine reasoning with animal intuition. Instinct isn't animal, she said. It's experience without hesitation. Vesk's eyes narrowed, evaluating her, not her ability, but the threat she represented. You react before you think, he said. That is not discipline. It is chaos, Rhea holstered the pistol. Chaos is a strategy when your opponent expects order. Something flickered behind Vesk's impassive stare. Not respect, never that, but the awareness that she was not afraid of him. It unsettled him. He leaned closer, voice low enough only she heard. Your species entered this academy begging to be considered equal. After tomorrow, there will be no further debate. Rhea did not blink. After tomorrow, she said softly. You'll learn to stop measuring humans with alien standards. Vesk turned sharply and left. Jonah exhaled. You just declared war. No, she said. He declared it when he decided our failure was predetermined. Later that morning, Rhea walked into the observation deck overlooking the Academy's diplomatic hall. She stared at the banners of every species, hovering in a circle above a polished marble floor. Earth's flag floated at the edge, smaller, duller, almost apologetic. There were only 5 human cadets left. 6 weeks ago, there were 22. Most transferred to administrative tracks after failing evaluations. They weren't weak, just worn down by alien superiority shoved into their faces daily. A voice behind her said, You look like someone planning a funeral. She turned. Cadet Mara, another human. Older, taller, calm in ways Rhea admired. Mara leaned her elbows on the railing. You think tomorrow decides everything? Mara asked. It does. Mara shook her head. It decides your pride. The council has already made up their mind. Rhea studied her quietly. Why are you still here, then? Mara hesitated. Her eyes softened. Because even if humanity loses its place in combat, I want to see someone prove that we deserved to be here. Rhea nodded, then watched closely. Hours later, the lights dimmed in the human dorm as cadets settled down. Rhea lay awake, not from fear, but clarity. She replayed Vesk's words. You cannot defeat machine reasoning. Her mind drifted to memories she didn't choose to recall. Age 12. A pirate boarding on a freight vessel, the alarm screaming. Her mother shoving her behind a maintenance locker. Blaster fire, darkness. The pirate who found her raised a rifle. She had no time to think. Her hand grabbed the wrench at her feet. Her arm moved before she decided to swing. That was instinct. Raw, unfiltered. Survival carved into her bones. Thinking gets you killed. Hesitation gets others killed. She whispered into the quiet. Instinct is not chaos. It's clarity. She finally slept. Test day, so 900 hours. The arena was packed. Every cadet, every instructor, even delegates from the Polaris Council. 100 alien eyes turned toward her. Jonah nudged her arm. Look up. She did. A massive holographic display streamed a live broadcast. Evaluation, human reflex capacity. Final determination. Outcome will determine species combat eligibility. The entire galaxy was watching. Vesk stood on the elevated platform, immaculate in dark command uniform. Cadet Morgan, he said, voice echoing. Step forward. Rhea entered the arena. She removed her wrist stabilizers and set her targeting HUD to minimal. Vesk frowned. You are discarding your visual enhancements. I don't need them. He didn't bother hiding his contempt. System, Vesk commanded. Activate adaptive protocol. Panels slid open. Hundreds of drones unfolded from mechanical racks. Not 16, not 50, hundreds. A few cadets gasped. Jonah swore under his breath. Rhea locked her grip on the pistol. Vesk spoke calmly into the system interface. Target probability extreme. Activate reaction tracking algorithm. He leaned toward the microphone. Begin! The first drone shot past her ear. She fired. Another streaked under her arm. She pivoted, muscle memory guiding her arc. The crowd leaned forward. No overlays. No analytics. No predictive beams. Only instinct. A drone accelerated toward her flank. She dropped to a knee and fired, not looking directly at it. Another descended vertically. She rolled, letting gravity shift her center of mass before firing upward. The AI adjusted patterns faster. She moved faster. Breath, motion, trigger, her. Body knew long before her mind registered. The drones blurred into streaks of black. Light, and then, she fired before a drone appeared. The crowd inhaled. A half-second later, a drone emerged exactly where she had shot, colliding with her bullet. Jonah whispered. She predicted the shot before the target existed. The arena fell into stunned silence. Even Vesk didn't move. Rhea stood in the center, pistol lowered, breath steady. The console displayed accuracy 100% reaction, speed 0.02. SC result exceeds. Maximum metric, not just passed, exceeded what the system could measure. The instructor monitoring the console swallowed hard. Commander, the system can't evaluate this. The room erupted. Rhea looked at Vesk. You said instinct isn't tactical. She holstered the pistol. It just outperformed your algorithm. Not the normal silence of an audience holding its breath, but the kind that feels like the air has been locked in place. The drones lay scattered across the arena floor, black fragments glinting under white floodlights. Rhea stood motionless, pistol down, breath steady. Her hair clung to her forehead from exertion, sweat tracing a thin line down her temple. On the console screen, the results remained frozen. Accuracy, 100% reaction. Speed, 0.02 SEC system. Error, metric exceeded a line of crimson text, pulsed beneath it. blinking slowly as if trying to comprehend its own failure. Rhea didn't celebrate. She simply watched Vesk. The reptilian commander stared at the data, jaw clenched so tight the scales on his cheek trembled. He had expected spectacle. He had expected proof that humans lacked control. Instead, the machine had been outmatched. The crowd broke first. She predicted the shot. Before the drone spawned! That's not reflex. What is that? Jonah leaned on the railing, eyes wide. That's human. Vesk recovered his composure with a slow inhale. His voice was flat, controlled, too precise, as if he needed perfection to keep from cracking. Cadet Morgan, he said, addressing her from the elevated platform. I require a full breakdown of your targeting approach. Rhea wiped sweat from her forehead with the back of her wrist. What part confused you? The accuracy or the timing? A few cadets choked on laughter. The crystalline Solarian instructor actually smirked. Vesk continued, ignoring the reaction. No combatant can predict a target that has not yet been generated. You must have utilized unauthorized systems. There it was, his escape hatch. You're accusing her of cheating, Jonah said from the stands. Rhea didn't look away from Vesk. I used no overlays, no enhancements, no predictive HUD. She gestured to the holo-display surveillance feed. Run the visual logs. The senior officiator, a stoic Solarian with a body like a sculpture of amber, lifted a hand. Replay combat visual feed. The room darkened. A hologram of the battle flickered to life. Rhea in the center, drones streaking like fractured meteors. Multiple viewpoints appeared. Top-down, side-angle, thermal, pulse tracking, neural link readings. The entire arena watched the key moment in slow motion. Rhea's muscles shifted before the drone existed. She fired at empty air. A half-second later, the drone materialized in the exact space her bullet occupied, even slowed to near stillness. The moment was violent in its clarity. One of the Zavari cadets whispered, "She acted before information existed," another hissed. No algorithm can model that. Jonah's voice rose, soft but certain. She didn't react to the target. She reacted to possibility. Vesk's eyes narrowed. Human reflexes cannot surpass predictive computation. Rhea looked up at him. Prediction wasn't needed. I felt the momentum shift in the drone's pattern. Movement tells its own story. That is not measurable skill, Vesk snapped. Rhea took a slow step toward the console. Why does it frustrate you so much that something can be effective without being quantifiable? The command platform dimmed. Rhea's voice carried in the hush. You treat instinct like a flaw because you can't control it. That hit him. The muscle at his jaw twitched again. The officiator lifted both hands for silence. We will now move to council judgment. A new hologram materialized in the center of the arena. 7 rotating emblems representing 7 dominant species in the Polaris assembly. The chamber lights shifted to diplomatic mode. Cooler and formal. Delegates entered from the hall above, robes trailing like banners. The Solarian ambassador spoke first. Voice crystalline. Cadet Morgan, she said, you exceeded every metric. Explain how. Rhea did not rehearse. She did not embellish. She spoke plainly. I don't calculate probabilities. I don't wait for certainty. In combat, hesitation is fatal. Humans don't need a full data set to act. We decide in the space between fear and movement. One of the Kexari generals leaned forward, 6 arms resting on the railing. You fired before identifying a threat. That is illogical. No, Rhea replied. It was decisive. On what basis? He asked. On the basis that standing still guarantees defeat. A murmur rippled through the council. Vesk stepped closer, expression a mask. Humans cannot be permitted to define doctrine based on emotion and luck. Rhea turned her head, eyes sharp. Instinct is not luck. And yet you admit you cannot explain how you predicted the target? I can explain, Rhea said, but you won't find comfort in the answer. Vesk folded his arms. Enlighten us. Rhea approached the hologram. The arena lights reflected off her dark irises. Humans evolved on a death world. Everything on Earth, from weather to predators, required split-second decisions. Our nervous systems don't wait for full analysis. She lifted the pistol. Aliens learned to avoid chaos. Humans learned to run toward it. A hush swept the stands. Jonah whispered to the cadet beside him, "That's our doctrine." The council chair, a towering avian diplomat, tapped his talon against the armrest. "What do you propose, Cadet Morgan?" Rhea straightened her spine. "I propose adding a new metric to the academy." The room brightened as her words projected onto the holo display. "Combat Standard Addendum, Human Instinct." Index gasps echoed. Rhea continued. "Measure more than accuracy or reflex. Measure what someone can accomplish when data fails." The chair's eyes shifted to Vesk. "Commander Thalcor, do you dispute the results?" Vesk stood rigid. Every scale seemed carved from stone. He looked at Rhea for a long, strained moment, something unreadable flickering in his gaze. Anger, frustration, maybe something deeper. "No," he said finally. "The result is indisputable." He turned his head slightly toward Rhea. "But instinct without discipline remains dangerous." Rhea met his gaze without flinching. "Then train us harder, not fewer." The words struck with the force of a command. They weren't spoken like a cadet begging permission. They were spoken like someone stating the future. Vesk held her gaze, then bowed his head a fraction, a gesture subtle enough that only Rhea truly saw it. The council chair raised both wings. "Humanity retains its combat status!" The arena erupted. Jonah shouted, grabbing Rhea and lifting her off the ground. "They can't remove us anymore. We earned it!" The other humans surged forward, clapping her back. Mara smiled, an expression soft with relief. "You didn't just pass," she said quietly. "You opened a door the rest of us can walk through." Rhea looked back to the platform. Vesk remained where he stood. When their eyes met, he offered a single acknowledgement, not approval, but recognition. "You have changed the standard," he said. "No," Rhea replied. "Humans always were the standard. You just didn't see it." Later, when the arena cleared and the lights dimmed, she stood alone on the transparent floor. The gas giant churned beneath her, reflecting faint streaks of blue. Tomorrow, new challenges would come. The galaxy would adapt, test, challenge, doubt. But today, humanity claimed its place. Rhea holstered her pistol and whispered, not to the academy, not to Vesk, but to the universe that kept underestimating her. Never measure humans by expected performance. Measure us by what we do when we refuse to lose. And somewhere deep within the Academy's database, a new metric appeared. Human Instinct Index. Active Doctrine updated.